And so, guys, man, you guys are in for a treat, and I'm so fired up. This guy's been like impacting. I've been seeing what he's been doing lately. It's been phenomenal what you're doing, brother. So, Allan, he's a mind performance coach, and he's also got a neuro linguistic background and also a clinical hypnosis practitioner. So, me and Allan, we go way back. So, about I want to say I first met Allan actually when I moved out to Vancouver. I was 17 years old. I want to say with extreme gratitude, you and Say, really, man, you guys really exposed me to personal development. Really, just continuously wanting to grow, man. I still remember, riding with you guys in the cars. You guys had the old school cassette tapes with Tony Robbins and just all the self-help stuff, man. And I really never really truly appreciated it at that age. But honestly, like thinking back, it's really shaped me. You and Say has really helped me shape to becoming the man that I am right now. I really appreciate it. It's kept me out of a lot of trouble. A fun fact, actually, Allan is an amazing dancer. He can really do a lot of cool usher moves, right? I remember that still when we used to party hard, brother. Right? You'll have to.
Man. Dancing's in our blood, brother. Dancing's in our blood, right?
Yeah. So you'll have to give him a sample when we come see you out there in Vancouver.
Anytime, brother. Anytime. You just call me. You know what I mean?
For sure. But
Sure.
yeah, other than that, since then we tried to stay connected here and there. But yeah, you've been doing some really amazing stuff, and I'm excited for you to kind of talk a little bit about that, talk about what it takes to be a high performer, and just continuously developing a strong mindset around just being in business, right? So
Right.
yeah, I'll go ahead and pass the mic to you, brother.
Cool. Thank you, man. Thank you. And again, guys, everybody, thank you so much for having me here. I never take moments like this for granted. I always appreciate it. My coaches have always said that whenever you have a chance, you should always give back. And it's even more of a blessing that I get to do that for Greg. Because Greg, like when I first met Greg, we were all just in party mode. This is party mode days. We're young. We're just kind of like, we weren't really thinking much about business. We tried to do I did way back when I was young. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So when Greg met me, I was at this place in my life where I was really just trying to get my feet wet in the whole networking business field, working for yourself, being your own boss. And I got to tell you guys, at first it was not easy. It was, you guys know, being in the business, doing your thing, learning, studying, going out and practice, like it's a totally different animal compared to when you go and work for the man or for the woman, when you work for that boss and they're always looking down on you to tell you what to do per se. So when I first got started, wow, I was 17 years old. I got into a network marketing company because maybe like you guys, maybe like a lot of people I know, we just got sick of two things. One, having people tell us what to do, when to go to the bathroom, how much we can earn. And number two, just having a limit on how much we could produce for ourselves. So when I was 17, I was like, man, this whole like networking thing, holy cow, I was exposed to all these mid-age and younger guys. Like one of the guys that I got lined up with was only 23 at the time, and he broke his first million at 23. Like I got to meet him just as he was hitting that millionaire status. So I thought to myself, oh my God, like this is crazy. I got to get into the whole network marketing. Like this is it. I don't see any of my bosses in my jobs, and no disrespect to jobs, like, they're cool. But I never saw my bosses living like this young guy. So I just thought, like, let me go do this. Well, when I first started, I just thought, well, as long as I look like this dude over here, like if you look good, smell good, act smart, it's got to get you somewhere. So foolishly, I went and bought, and I'm telling you guys this because I believe it's good to be honest, share mistakes, and share how I got over those mistakes. So that was a part of the story that I believe Greg wanted me to bring to the table. So in case any of you guys throughout my story are like, man, this guy was crazy, what the hell was he thinking? I'm letting you know that because I never want anybody to make the mistakes that I made. And during those early years, one of the first things that I learned was, well, you got to be duplicatable. You got to learn from your coaches. But what I thought when I heard that, I thought, okay, so I just got to look like him, smell like him, act like him, talk like him. So I should get results like him. So he was always in suits. He was always sharp haircut. He always spoke with this clean, like it was almost like royalty kind of conversation. Like he never used slang. He was always patient, and he always drove a nice car. Well, I was 17. I couldn't afford anything, man. So I tried to, go to the cheapest store, and I bought like these cheap little $100 suits, and I tried to slap it all together. And I instantly shifted because I thought the image of being quote unquote successful was what I needed. So, make a long story short, I went through 3 years of this trial and error period where I was trying to grow, and it wasn't really working out well for me because I would look good, smell good, talk right, but when people would come aboard with me in my networking company at the time, I really didn't have a lot that I could teach them. I just kind of told them to do what I did. Well, go look good, smell good, act smart, And so it was a lot of this. It was a lot of this up and down stuff. And guys, I got to tell you, from 17 to 20, I was just getting my feet wet. From 20 to about 24, I started to get some traction. Traction as in I was learning what was not working, and I was learning what was working. So what started to happen is I started to grow. But this is where the story starts to get interesting. I started to get some what I call success. I was making enough money to eventually let go of my job. I got an apartment. I got a car. I got a really good looking girlfriend, what I thought was really good looking at the time. And things were just going my way. But eventually something started to happen. I started to grow in my company, and all of a sudden one day, I started to sabotage myself. I started using money that I had and blowing it on things I shouldn't have blown it on. I started partying like I was a rock star. I was not a rock star, but I sure as heck tried to act like one on a Friday, Saturday. And within a few short months, my business went from here, and it just started to dwindle. People started leaving. Clients stopped calling me. I went from earning, I know we're not always supposed to talk about income amounts, but it was a healthy amount at the time to cover all my expenses, and then a whole bunch extra to go have fun. I went from that to like barely able to pay for anything. I had to, let go of my car. My ex-girlfriend broke up with me. She was like, man, you're falling apart. You're a loser. And I couldn't hold down anything. I went from this place that I thought I was doing great at down to this point where, no exaggeration, I was so broke that I had to go and live out of my friend's closet. I had to live in my friend's closet because I had no money to continue paying for anything that I had. I lost everything. And the only reason why I got a closet was because my lady friend had to leave for Taiwan, needed a cat babysitter. I said, I hate cats. She's like, take the closet, take care of my cat, or you're not coming here. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll take it. So I took it. I lost the cat for the month. She wanted to kill me after, but that's how I got by for the following couple of months. I was literally scraping by on $1.50 a day. I can say this now, but it used to hurt like hell, guys. I used to scrape by on $1.50 a day because I had lost everything from this thing I didn't know was running in my head. And I had to sit back and go, like, how did I get to this place? I thought I was doing okay. I thought I was doing fairly well. Like I was, I was chasing my dream. How the hell did I go from chasing to just demolishing myself? I realized that it didn't matter how hard I worked. Yes, we have to work hard. Yes, we got to learn skills. But I realized that when you get to a certain point, if your mind's not ready for it, it can easily go through some version of self-sabotage. So that happened to me, and that was around 2005. So I had to figure out, like, okay, if I'm gonna move ahead here, if I'm gonna fix this giant mess I've made of my life, well, how am I gonna do that? Wind back a few months, I had bought this set of personal development CDs, because back then you didn't have podcasts, you had CDs. And I was sitting on my wall that I foolishly treated like it was a trophy. I treated it like it was a trophy because it cost $600 to buy at the time. And me being young, I was like, whoa, look at me. I paid $600 for this stuff, man. Like it's so cool. Like I've never done that before in my life. I'm just going to leave it there because it looks really pretty. I treated it like a status symbol. Like, what the hell's wrong with you, Allan? You're supposed to learn this stuff, not treat it like a trophy on the wall. So during that time when I was messed up, I grabbed those CDs, I plugged it in to my computer, no joke, 8 hours a day. 8 hours a day. I listened to these CDs, I did the homework. These CDs were strictly and solely about one thing that I didn't know I needed in my life, because I never even knew this stuff existed until I listened to it. The CDs were solely about being able to program your mind in a way where not consciously you have to think about it, but subconsciously, like autopilot, auto habit, without thinking about it, you can reprogram the way your mind works. So instead of doing the daily habits that we all have, which is fine for regular life, if you want to elevate your life, these CDs taught me how to program my habits in a way where after a few weeks of using the CDs and actually studying, not just sit there and listen, like there was actual homework to do. But when you got $1.50 a day, you're broke as hell. What else are you going to do, right? That's all I did. That's all I had time for. So I listened to these and I learned after a month that my daily habits just started to switch. They just started to change. And it wasn't like I was trying to make effort to do it. It was literally like wake up in the morning and just go. And I became a machine. I can say that now because I was trying for the longest time. I was like, what the hell happened to me? But that's literally what happened. I wrote in this book that I said, because when I was dirt broke, I needed to make some money. So I wrote in this book, I said, okay, in 60 days, I need to find a business because I didn't have one. I need to find money to start the business because I had none. I need to make at least $3,000 a month just to pay for the basics. Because in 2003, or 2005, you can get away with about $3,000 in Vancouver. And I need to do that like working for myself. So not going and getting a job. 1 month, I studied this thing like a madman. Month number 2, with still no money, I was so driven that I found a creditor that loaned me just a few $1,000s on the internet, online. Now, I found him. This is the interesting part. I was so hardwired to win that when I called these, like I applied for credit card companies, I applied for loans, they called me back and they would ask me like, well, how much are you making right now? I'll never forget it. I was like, oh yeah, I'm making like $200 a month on eBay, selling everything in my bedroom except my underwear. And I tried selling that, but nobody wants to buy it. So I'm making about $200 a month. And it was like clockwork. Every one of them were like, nope, you don't make enough money. Click. Somebody else, $200. Yeah. Click. Like, hello? Like I just got rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection. Guys, like I literally did not stop. And then one day I'm having dinner with my sister because she's like, hey, I haven't talked to you. Let's catch up for a little while. And she hands me this thick pile of bills because I had them still sent to my parents' house because during that time I had no place, right? I'm living at my friend's closet that I couldn't tell my parents I was living out of. And she's like, hey, you got all these this mail. And I'm going like this. I'm like, oh God, I know this is like bills that I owe. It's money I owe. And as I'm doing that, I'm like, oh wait, this one's like, it's solid. Lo and behold, one of them, I don't know what, I can't even remember right now. They sent me a credit card for $2,000 with no money, with 200 bucks a month coming in, selling on eBay, everything except my underwear, and living off $1.50 a day for a meal. I don't know why they did it. Again, it was like a godsend. It was like, here's $2,000. Holy crap. I lost my stuff. I lost. I'm like, oh my God, I have a chance. So I tell my sister, I'm like, hey, I love you. We got to cut this short. I got to go take care of something right now. She takes off. I go back to my closet. Next to the closet is an old computer. I turn on the computer. I continue to find the business that I dug up, and I found one that I could start with. It was $1,500 at the time to start. I slapped down the credit card. There was 500 bucks left. I found a leads company, and they sent me 50 leads. And again, with zero experience, like zero, guys, like no business mindset, nothing. I got on the phone, I called these leads one after the other. I must have sounded like a serial killer to these people, because I literally would call, they would not pick up. I would call again, they would not pick up. I would call again, they would not pick up. I must have called these people like a maniac, literally 15 times a day. And some way, somehow, some dude out in Florida picks up his phone. Hello. I'm like, hi, this is Allan from Vancouver. You left me your name and email up at the XYZ company. You're looking to start, right? You're looking to start. I'm sorry, who are you? Yeah, you want to start? Okay, I need your credit card, please. Go ahead. Like, I literally didn't listen. I had zero skills, guys. But just because there was enough drive and determination, which is really the moral of the story, when the drive and determination is high, skills can be learned along the way, and problems that are problems can become small issues as long as the speed of your movement is fast. Now, why did I share with you that story? I shared with you that story because ever since that time 20 years ago, I have tried ridiculously, and I mean ridiculously, to replicate what happened to me to anybody else who I'd worked with, whether it's me starting a company and hiring employees, or it's me starting in a network marketing company, some MLM, direct sales. I was so fascinated with what happened to my brain that I wanted to do that for other people. But lo and behold, again, here I am I had zero skills. I didn't understand what happened to me. So I told myself, I'm like, look, I don't know when I'm going to find this thing. I don't know how I'm going to find out, but I'm going to find out, because these CDs are awesome, but it doesn't tell me what the actual technology is. Fast forward. Okay, so this was like 2005. I'm living my life for 10 years, I'm doing my thing. Fast forward 10 years, I find this training program that sounds really similar to the one in 2005. So I'm like, okay, different trainer, different everything, but it sounds similar. So I dive into it. And lo and behold, I find out that it's a training system for the mind called neuro-linguistic programming. It's been around since the 70s, released to the public in the 80s. I found out that the guys that use it now are high-level CEOs, military, anybody who's a high authority figure. Politicians use it, presidents use it. And all it is really is a way to program your mind very similar to how you control a computer. These two guys that invented the system, if you guys ever have a minute later on, if ever you're curious about it, you might want to Google them just so you don't think it's just me making stuff up. They're really interesting guys. One guy's name's Richard Bandler, and the other guy's name's John Grinder. Last name looks like John Grinder. Bandler was a computer programmer back in the 70s, 80s, before computers really made it to the public. Military was using them. And John Grinder was a linguist. He was a master of language. Somehow these two guys figured out that when in any industry, like whether it's sales, the Olympics, or something that's not as well represented, but still valuable, like you got really good parents, or you got kids that just excel really well in school, These guys discovered that when people start doing things at a high level, especially in places where they're failing or they're not doing as well, these two guys went out throughout the world and found out, how do people use their brain when they're doing so well and everybody else is like doing okay or sometimes not so okay? One of the first places they ever went to was the Olympics. Like, you guys know that if you can get to the Olympics, just getting there already, you are like the best of the best in the world. Just to enter the Olympics, you got to be something special, right? So Tony Robbins used to say, well, what's the difference when you've got a room full of high-level people? Why is it that some people still excel higher than everybody else? And again, going back to John Grinder, like those two guys, what they discovered is that while most people are trying to use their conscious brain, high-level performers operate out of their subconscious. So I want you to imagine for a second, this phone represents your brain, okay? Our brain. Anytime that you're making a decision, that comes from the conscious part, which is the prefrontal cortex. It's in the front. So just as you're listening to me right now, you might be thinking, this guy's cool, he's not cool. This is short, this is long, this is interesting, or I'm getting bored, I want to go eat. Whatever it is you're thinking, that comes from here. But guess what? When we are on Operation Autopilot, when you're going out there and making sales calls, not thinking about it, when you're at a seminar and you're watching it and you're loving it, when you're eating that up, you're like, man, when you're having fun with somebody, like, when you have fun with somebody, could be like your partner, it could be a friend. You ever had that where it's like the time goes by so fast and you're like, what the hell happened to the time? You ever had those experiences? Well, that's from subconscious. And the reason why this is so important is because when we try to make change, or at least when I try to make change, growing up, I was just told, if you're going to do something, go do it. Just go do it. Like, just don't think, just go do it. Everything was about do it. Like my dad, he was an ex-military guy. So he just had massive discipline, like I cannot replicate. The guy could sleep 3 hours for like 3 months and be like, what's wrong with you? Why are you tired? I'm like, I can't sleep 3 hours, Dad. What's wrong with you, boy? I'm like, I'm a boy. I know I'm a boy. I need more than 3 hours, Dad, please. Let me sleep a little bit. For him, he was just an animal. I could not do that. But I always wondered, like, how can this man do that? And it's because he was operating from subconscious. A couple of key facts that you got to know of, okay? When the conscious is operating, it's making decisions. When the subconscious is operating, it's going off autopilot. This is where it becomes interesting, because if somebody wants to change and they do it just from conscious, the conscious mind can only process an average of 128 bits of information per second. Sounds like a lot, right? Well, these high-level performers, when they're moving, when they're like succeeding up the yin-yang and people are like, how the hell are they doing that? They're operating from here. Subconscious operates at an average of 2 million bits per second. So it's kind of like all of us are programmed with this brain. We're taught and raised to use the main processor, but nobody ever really taught us how to get into the back. It's like all of us are built with an AI in the back of our head. It's there. All of us, because despite language, despite male or female, despite age, all of that, when you take all that out, you look at how we're built, we're all built with the same nervous system. We all have one brain, 2 arms, 2 legs. Some people have 3 legs, but the majority of us have 2, you know what I mean? We're built the same way. So then it got me thinking, like, okay, so if we're all built the same way, how do we access this? How is it possible that these high-level performers can do it, but the average person doesn't know how to access it? Well, that's why I started to study NLP, because I was deathly hungry. Like, when I say deathly hungry, I'm talking like it was on my mind a lot. And I really wanted to know, like, how can I get this going? Because I get it going at times. We all do, right? Aren't there times in your life where you look at yourself and you go, man, I did pretty good at that thing. I actually did pretty good, whatever that is. And then aren't there other times in your life where you look at yourself and you're like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, wait, I know I can do better than that, right? During times where you perform well and you don't know why, I can almost guarantee it came from here. During times where you know you should have done well, but you felt like, oh God, like that was almost borderline embarrassing, that was from here. So what I wanted to know was, how does this turn on all the time, or as often as I need it to? And so here's where NLP becomes really interesting. NLP, there's so many different explanations for it. Let me share with you guys the one I think would be the most valuable to you, because it's become the most valuable to me. And we're kind of in the same, you guys do finance, I do fitness, and I do mindset training, but we're all after the same thing, right? Like, we all know where we are. We want to get to that next level. We want to bring people with us. So technically, we're kind of doing the same thing, right? Just different vehicles. Here's what I've learned. Every single one of us has a certain belief that we can get to a certain level of achievement. However, when we break past that, or if we try to break past that, there's this thing in our brain called the RAS. It's called the reticular activating system. It's important to know this, because anytime you go after something, the RAS has to be on towards the goal that you want. And if it's not on towards the goal that you desire to attain, then a lot of cases, we won't be able to get to that level of achievement, or we'll get there and then we'll do something to mess it up. Case in point, you guys know that in order for you to grow, there's a certain amount of phone calls that you have to make. There's a certain amount of contacts you got to reach out to, right? You guys don't have to point your hands, but I'll be the first one to admit, when I first started to learn that, I knew I had to make 20 calls a day. But some days I didn't want to. Some days I felt too timid to. Some days I felt too stupid to. Some days I felt like, yeah, let's go. And then other days I'm like, but I don't know who I'm going to call. And then I get stuck on that. Well, we all have 24 hours. Why is it that some people will get stuck on some sort of situation, and rightfully so, while some other people will be like, oh, I don't have somebody to call, I'll go find someone. Oh, I'm tired, I'll take Red Bull and I'll inject myself with coffee. I'm just kidding, don't do that. But some people will find ways to get their energy, right? Like, some people that perform well, they just don't let stuff stop them. They don't. They do at times. It's like, nobody's perfect. But if after a year you see people succeeding like this and some others are like this, well, what makes that difference? It's that those people that just keep excelling, they're programmed not to let anything stop them. Even if they go broke, even if they lose time and money, even if they like are feeling so down about themselves, there's this thing that just kicks off inside of them that just says, no, I'm here, I won't stop. I'm going to keep going. And it's like this voice that goes on in your head that just yells at you and just goes, what the F are you doing? Why are you eating? That's 20 minutes. You have 5 minutes. Eat and then get back out there. Like, it's this thing in your brain that once it's on, you guys. And I get excited about talking about this because now that I understand it, the things that I used to think were impossible to do, they're no longer impossible. Based on my level of experience, okay? I can't say that for everything. But case in point, one of my clients is trying to get into the fitness business. He's young, 20. He just entered his first bodybuilding competition, placed second. So I'm really proud of him. But a couple of months before that, he was nervous, timid, scared, afraid to take his shirt off, because you have to do that if you're going to be on a fitness stage and you show off your muscles. You can't do it in a jacket. You know what I mean? Like, you got to take that, you got to peel it down, bro. Like, take it off. You know what I mean? And he was just like, yeah, I can do it, but. And I'm like, what do you mean, but? And he's like, no, I can do it, but there can't be too many people watching. I have to make sure I eat my macros. My coach said I got to do this, that. It was like this list of things he had to do. And if he didn't do them, he was too afraid to take off his shirt. The guy's got 9% body fat. He looks like a Greek god that's half Vietnamese, half Chinese. Are you kidding me? Like, how do you be nervous with a body like that? And he was looking that good before he got on stage. Well, guess what? I found out after doing a little work with him that he built up anxiety. But it wasn't because he was not following the program. Yes, that was part of it. But he found out the anxiety he was feeling had an association, a direct connection to when he was 6 years old, and he was getting flack from his parents that he wasn't doing it right. Here's the crazy part. Consciously, he never knew it until we put him into a mind position where he was in deep relaxation. It's almost like meditation. And it allowed his mind to go all the way back to when he was 6, to when it started. And he discovered, because my parents said this to me, I believed it. And now I believe that if I don't do everything perfect, I'm not good enough to make it happen. So what do? We unwrapped that belief. We switched it. It's almost like looking at a coin. Imagine that this is heads. So imagine there's a coin. It has a certain feeling associated when he looks at it. The moment we switch it and he sees it as tails, the feeling changes. So what ends up happening is that fear just goes from here and it just drops. So long story short, when we were done with him, I asked him, like, you know, you're not following your coach's advice to 100%. You're only 90%. How do you feel about that? He's like, yeah, it's good enough. I just want to go. I just want to get on stage now. Like, and he was like, I want to go. Like, you know what I was telling you guys earlier? It's like when it's on, it's on. That mofo was on. And here's where it gets crazy. He did 5 events at that weekend. Okay, 5. Nobody does 5. The guy's an animal. Like, you got to sit there and pose and flex it. It's tiring on one part of that event. He did 5 of them. Saturday, he flunked it. No top 5, no placement. He's mad as hell. Went to the coaches, went to the judges, to the refs. Why didn't I place? One of the refs said, it's because your posing is not good. All night Saturday, all night. Friends came to visit him, family came to visit him. He's like, no, guys, I love you, but I got to go work on my pose. I'm not showing off my ass the way that these refs want to see it. So I got to go work on this. So he goes back into his room. 3 hours, he's standing in front of a mirror trying to perfect his pose on the Saturday night. Sunday comes back super confident, despite the fact that he failed on Saturday. Comes back for the last 2 events, gets second place because his balls were this big on Sunday. Sorry for the French, but I'm telling you, like, it is nuts when you think about that story. I mean, think about that. He had every reason to quit. He was told he wasn't good enough. He's on stage expecting to place at least top 3. He's naked not fully naked. He's got little shorts on, but he's got these little shorts on that even I would not wear to the beach, but he put them on because he has to. And there's 300 plus people in the audience looking at his half naked ass, and he doesn't place. If that's not enough reason to quit, I don't know what is. Most people probably would. But he was so programmed to win. He's like, I'm not leaving this event without something. And he didn't just say it, he put that effort in to earn it. When everybody else on Saturday was like hanging out, chilling, they're starting to eat because they've been, dieting for the past 3 weeks. He's like, no, I'm going to keep going. He didn't quit until the bell rung, until it was right to the last minute. I want you guys to know that that's the kind of stuff that we do here. That's the kind of reprogramming that we have. I've done this for people that want to do public speaking, sales. I do this for people who they got to grow their business, but somebody in their family has passed away. That's a big common one these days. A mom passing away, a dad passing away. I did this for myself. My business partner, she's not here. She's on vacation, but she did this for me because last November, my dad got really, really deathly sick and passed away January. And I was ready to call it quits. She did a technique on me where she put me out 45 minutes. And when I come to, all of a sudden that pain is just gone. Like, he's not better. He still passed. But that pain went from like a 10 down to a 1. Still hurts a little, right? I miss my dad, but not enough to stop me from growing and doing my things. One of my clients is a professional hairdresser. His mom just passed away 2 weeks ago. I just worked on him yesterday. It took about 45 minutes. But after 45 minutes, we erased literally 6 months of depression, of heartache, of him falling apart, of him getting angry and sad, short-tempered. Like, all of that's wiped. And it took about 45 minutes to do. I took a lady that had a 60-year trauma. Something happened between her and her dad when she was 4 years old. She's 60 now. And it destroyed her 3 marriages because she had this belief in her head that she wasn't good enough. Now, fast forward, it took about 3 hours to work on her. Now she's so confident that she's going out meeting people left, right, and center, but she never had that ability before. If you're trying to grow in your business, yes, learn sales. Yes, learn marketing. Those are mandatory. But on top of that, if ever you find that there's that voice in your head that's saying, no, I don't know if you can do it. Or maybe who the hell do you think you are? Like, I had that one. Who the hell do you think you are? Know this, it's not you. You deserve to grow. You deserve to fly. You deserve to get whatever the heck it is that you want to get. But if you have that negative voice that turns into a negative emotion, just know that you weren't born with it. It's not because it's a real voice. Yes, it's real, but it's not because of you. It's because somebody, most likely by accident, put that in your head between 0 to, like, when you're born to 7 years old. And that time frame is super valuable to remember, because from 0 to 7, our brains are open. They're like blank cassette tapes. We just absorb anything that comes in. The average 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old kid does not have self-awareness. We don't learn that until we start growing into our teens. So if ever you get that voice, know that you don't have to be stuck with it. And the sooner that you get that voice and recognize that it's just there, learn to handle it. And I'm telling you, it's like this lid that just gets popped off. The things that used to hold you back don't hold you back anymore. The worries that you have no longer control you. Whether you have time issues, money issues, as you grow in your company, the level of pain that you get when it's worried like this, you pop that off, it's like this. No joke. And that's, if there's anything you wanted to get from this call about how to grow fast, it's really to make sure that you get that lid in your subconscious taken out, because we all have it. We all have it. Most of us by accident, because this kind of technology wasn't available until, like, it didn't even go mainstream until like 2010, 2012. But now it's out there, guys. So in closing, don't let anything stop you, because any voice that's in there that's negative, you can fix it, and you can fix it fast.